Hi, this is David, the Reckless Rabbi. I'm at Havana Dream Cigar Bar. I just smoked one cigar. One is enough. One time I smoked four and I had a terrible headache and I fell asleep. I passed out. So one is enough. Like St. Paul says in his epistle to Timothy, one drink is enough. So sometimes one is enough. You know, I really wonder about whether that St. Paul was really, because there are three voices we always hear. We hear our own voice in our head, we hear God's voice, we hear the devil's voice. And I wonder if St. Paul, who was a man, who was not the Christ, if everything he says is divinely inspired, or sometimes he's hearing his own voice. Now, this was a man who had killed people in the past, murdered Christians, and probably was a little bit afraid of himself. So maybe he put limits on himself to control himself, and maybe he thought they were divinely inspired and it was his own voice. But for him, one drink was enough. That it can't hurt. Just having one drink can't hurt. But Jesus Christ made water into wine, and he kept the wine flowing. So there is a disparity there. So that's something I want to make a video about later. But I really want to talk about redemption. We all are conceived in sin. We all are children of sex. Jesus Christ was a child, birth of the Holy Spirit. Adam, before the fall, was created without sex. And, my personal father, who is a very lovely man, who is a wonderful man, Jewish man, would always say that the conception of Christ was akin to Greek mythology, where Zeus would come down and mate with a woman, and God would have a child. God would have a child. He has no problem with God creating Adam without sex, but he has a problem with Jesus being born without sex, which I think is a contradiction. Now, is sex wrong because Jesus Christ was born out of sex? Well, we are conceived in sin, and lust is a sin. Adam loved Eve, a created thing, over the Creator. And when you experience lust, you are not thinking about God. You're not thinking about someone's well-being. You're just thinking about using them for physical needs, for the physical end of pleasure. So, is sex a sin? I don't believe so. If you're doing it with love, with passion, if you're doing it to please the person, but if you're doing it to edify your own sexual needs, your own personal pleasures, then I think it is a sin. Now, St. Augustine said that we are all conceived in sin, and that when he was a baby, he lusted for his mother's milk. David said he was conceived in sin. So there is something to be said about us inheriting an original sin from Adam. Now, is that fair? Now, think about this, though. It would not be fair if we never sinned, and we had inherited the ailments of original sin. Now, was Jesus Christ's crucifixion fair? No, because he never sinned. He did not inherit Adam's original sin, and he never sinned, and he suffered. So even God suffers. Now, what about redemption, though? Is it better to never sin and to go to heaven, or to go into sin, come back from sin, and then to go to heaven? What's more of a personal achievement? That's a very difficult question. Well, the reality is that every human being outside of Jesus Christ sins. And therefore, we have to go through this redemption process. But isn't that an amazing process, to go into the depths of sin and to come out of it? I'm not saying it's better than being like Jesus and not sinning. I'm saying, though, isn't it an amazing thing to have sinned and to come out of sin? It's an achievement. And I think that when you go to heaven, and I've had visions of heaven, and I've physically been in heaven before, a near-death experience, a heart attack, God recognizes the effort that you put in to overcome that, and he gives you the crown and the accolades from that. So forgive yourself, because God forgives you, and he recognizes the effort. This is David the Reckless Rabbi. God bless, Baruch Hashem.